the sacrum with just a nice light kind of traction. What I'm doing here is checking kind of lateral movement and give, palm on the opposite PSIS, sacral border. I'm just kind of leaning opposite myself, just putting my weight in. Just a nice way to kind of start creating some SI joint movement. And I can also kind of take that up into the lumbar area. Just getting my palmar surface kind of into the erectors to the opposite side. So just sinking in off that lamina groove in the lumbar spine. And it's a lovely warming technique, but it's also a great assessment tool for just checking pliability of the tissue. Before I undrape, I can also sit back and here and allow your weight to drop into my hands, Cari. Good. So sometimes clients will lift up and help you there if they think you're trying to tuck a sheet in, or if I feel that, I say just try and let your weight relax into my hands. And carry that down into the hamstrings as well, just to check out tensions. Check the glutes. And then I would walk around and do the same thing to the other side to get a nice bilateral comparison. You can also just do a quick, if she came in complaining that her right side was bothering her, I might just do a quick kind of comparison here from the same side. But typically I try to create kind of a nice balanced introduction. And we're just going to pull this just a little bit just to try and get the sheet below the SI joints. Sorry, my hand's a little cool. So I like to do just some fascial stuff after so I'm using thumb pads right into the SI joint. So I'm just inside the PSIS on both sides with just a real specific little stretch. You can take then the base of your palms into a nice QL glide. You can go into each side individually. This again is just trying to create a nice little opening over the QL erectors.
So you're doing some pin and stretch then? Is that what it is, or no? What is that?
To me, pin and stretch is a joint action involved. This is a fascial glide. This is just spreading, basically. Like a very direct technique that would look like this otherwise. I'm just coming from this angle to make it more directional and stretching it up. You can do that right over the spine, but my pressure's going this way. I also will do a fascial stretch superiorly to check the thoracolumbar aponeurosis. And like, for example, here, I didn't feel that pushing inferior, pushing superiorly. So, had I not come superiorly, I might not have noticed that this tissue is a little adhered down. Because when I'm pushing this way, it stretches a bit.
Right.
If I turn around though and try and see it, does the skin just lift easily and it bunches, then it's telling me that some of this tissue is a little bit adhered down. And that's usually right over the thoracolumbar aponeurosis. So I'm just going to go in and kind of create a little more movement. This is a great technique, a little C-stroke. You can do it very broadly or very specifically. So this just kind of picks up.
Lori, let me know if I'm on the way, okay?
And then that way, if I kind of come back to just a real slow skin rolling, all I'm trying to do is create a nice supple movement through there. Does that feel okay for you? Okay. If I'm getting that specific with my fascial work, I'll usually say, and me know if that pinches a little too much.
Mhm.
I can slow down or change what I'm doing. And then I'm just kind of continuing that specific fascial work because I saw that it bunched a little bit, but I also give breaks.
Right.
Right. So here I'm just trying to move the fascia away from the spine.
You would do the rolling in all directions?
It depends. In this case, yes, just because I'm trying to free up the adhesions.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to necessarily take into account postural deviations or things like that. My goal is, however I can move it, to get it freed up. And right now, just taking a look, I've created a change here because you can see an imbalance in her hip now.
Mhm.
This side is relaxed out and down.
Mhm.
This side is still a little bit rigid. So you can see like a quick impact of getting that really sufficiently warm, right? And then again, I kind of probably work cross table from the other side, but just for ease of recording and staying same side. And I would apply that same work here. The other thing I'll do is just slide my hand along the barrier border of the sheet so I can get into the upper glutes. And just do a nice lateral traction, fascial release, whatever you want to call that.
Cool.
This addresses then the attachments above and below the ilium. Or above and below the iliac crest specifically. And then you can also do just a really nice pull at the ribs and push here. Or opposite. And again, this is still fascial, so you can see it's slow. I'm not doing a lot of glide. Good. And each time she exhales, I feel a nice little give.
Did you put any lotion in your hands?
Yep, I get. I'm about to though. Because I've warmed her pretty nicely, I don't have to do a ton of effleurage.
Mhm.
You know, I can really just get into kind of that petrissage. And trying to just keep, again, my whole goal with the work I do is just mobilization of tissue and joints. And just specific manipulation here. So again, I'll go back to the SI joints because I know that that's where a lot of people are limited. I know that tension around the spine is going to create a lot of lumbar pain. So the more specific I get, it really goes to those particular areas for myself. And then additionally, I'll always kind of check out the QL muscle. So here's a technique I love to use anywhere along the spine. It's kind of just what I would call like a scooping technique. It's find the SPs, sink down, scoop out. So I'm doing that basically. So what it does is it moves fluid away from the joints. It spreads that tissue out, any attachments along there, just get some movement and pliability. And you can really carry it up the back, down the back, specifically with thumb pads. You can go brisk as I just kind of was, or you kind of slow it down. Any of those areas tender for you? I'll use one hand to pin
Okay.
and the other to kind of work right down to the greater trochanter. I can kind of do really nice little petrissage techniques here. Sides. That gets also the lower edge of QL, which we'll come to next. You can really easily use this part of your hand, hook along the lateral edge of QL. So my pressure's going in down in that way, and then kind of following the contour of the muscle. So I can use some pretty firm pressure without it feeling really invasive. And I can also
Oh, well, that's cool.
feel okay?
Yeah, nice.
Oh, I didn't know you can do that. Oh, I like that.
If I felt the need to get in really specifically, I'm not digging. If you just go in at the right angle, you just merely have to catch the edge of this muscle. You can do a really nice just sweeping down of it.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath the 12th rib here,
Mm-hmm.
down to the iliac crest here. And then again, any of that tender or sore for you. If it just feels kind of generally sore, I'll keep my strokes general to the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
If she said there's a real tight spot kind of where you're going over, then I can narrow down and do a release. But otherwise, it's just getting that open. If I want to, I can also use my other forearm to get into the glutes as I do some low back pressure. So if they're sensitive in one area versus the other, this helps to kind of diffuse that pressure to two different areas so that it doesn't feel quite as specific or tender. And again, the mechanics are me pushing. It's not my knee, it's my trunk and legs pushing off my back leg.
Okay.
I'm kind of going from low up.
Okay.
You can actually come underneath and do a little bit of kind of oblique action. So if someone is ticklish here, you keep your hands nice and flat and let your fingers just come slightly underneath, right above the ASIS, and then pull back and lift. You can actually sneak a little abdominal. You can also do a really lovely, almost like a psoas stretch. Just let them know I'm just going to reach right underneath here.
Sorry.
I just got my hand flat on her abdomen, right here. On the other side on the back. So lots of other stuff to do in the back, but I think that that's a good kind of just starting point for you
Yeah.
guys. In terms of how to address more specifically into muscles, which joint areas to really focus into.
Mm-hmm.
And again, get specific to the spine, the SI joint, and attachments of the iliac crest. QL. Yeah. Have a really nice, well-rounded kind of addressing of the low back. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. If I were to do forearm work,
That was good. That was really good.
I wanted to show you a way to intersperse forearm work
Mm-hmm.
and still maintain a nice flow. So it's not like you have to stay on your elbows or forearms the whole time, but how to kind of come out of those and back in nicely, how to combine kind of two different forearms, how to use them in kind of different directions, cross stables.
It's interesting. I don't really move my legs so much the way you do it. It is, you're so fluid.
You have to. That's where the flow comes from. It's okay to stop and kind of just really be up here for a little bit.
Okay.
But then you have to move again. Otherwise, you're going to get low back pain, you're going to get neck pain, your shoulders are going to get sore,
Right.
your hands are going to get tired.
Okay.
Where if everything is coming from here, you can pull and push with so much leverage and not have to work so hard. You know, yes, it's almost more cardiovascular in terms of gotta be moving your,
Right.
focusing on your breath work. That's why sometimes you'll see me kind of stop and take my head up and make sure I'm getting back to being focused on my breath work and not down here the whole time too.
Right.
Put your head up and close your eyes and keep working.